On today's episode of the Locked On Knicks podcast, the latest free agency rumors, including, is it finally time, actually for real this time, that LeBron makes his way to the New York Knicks? We'll tell you in just a sec here on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Gavin, Schall, a credentialed media member that's been covering the New York Knicks for about a decade and the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast. He's Alex Wolfe, editor-in-chief of The Strickland. They've got a big basketball game coming up this week. You can check them out on all forms of social media at thestrick.land. And, of course, you are listening to Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving the most detailed insight on your favorite team at least 5 days a week. So be sure to join thousands of other fans in subscribing in both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform of choice for the best insight on your favorite team. On today's show, we are talking free agency, LeBron drama on the forefront again. The guy loves to be in the news. He loves to talk about getting traded, probably not ultimately get traded, but maybe this time there's an Instagram video. There are people decoding the audio of that Instagram video. So there's a lot going on there. That all seems very free agency. So we're excited to talk about that. There are new rumors about the Knicks and Giannis, courtesy of Brian Windhorst. And then there's some New York Knicks housekeeping across the board, including Ariel Hukporti returning, PJ Tucker being gone, maybe just for the moment. And the Knicks have some competition to keep Landry Shamet. We're going to get into it all in just a sec. But first, I want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, Alex, the first Shams bomb. I don't know. Does he have his own term? I'm not sure. He's got to update us.
Sham
wow
is what I've always sham wow, maybe.
Sham wow. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
You gotta get that to him. Next time, I've seen him in person a couple of times at games. Next time I see him, I'm gonna throw that his way. Maybe he's heard it before. Maybe he hasn't. Anyways, LeBron seemingly wants out of LA. Is where we start this episode.
Yeah, I mean, some intriguing quotes. So Rich Paul says, which is, of course, LeBron's agent with Clutch Sports, says he knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance at winning it all. We're very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers as a critical part of his career. Like that's a lot of past tense language. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years. Interesting. There was also this like Instagram video. I don't freaking know, man. It was like LeBron at a sushi spot eating, I guess, with one of his friends who was
Is with Kevin Love and his wife, apparently.
Oh, was it? Oh, that was with Kevin Love. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And your descriptor was right, just not as specific. But
yeah. So LeBron eating sushi with Kevin Love on a video, and very loud music playing, so it's really hard to hear. But then someone took the video and like did like the CSI, like enhance. And the quote is something to the effect of, if this is actually what it is, which, you know, I don't know, man. I don't care enough to download the audio myself. Like, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. But whatever. There was a bit about it in there about him saying that his wife Savannah only wants him to play for one more year, and then said something about to the effect of he wouldn't mind New York or whatever. Is like, wouldn't mind New York, but you know, Savannah only wants me to play 1 or 2 more years or whatever. So, you know, sure. I don't know. Whatever. Sure. I'm ready to be hurt again, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know what the trade would look like. I don't know what would happen, but like he's still really good. He's still a really good basketball player into his 40s. Maybe he does only have a couple years left. Maybe he's only got 1 year left. I mean, maybe that's why he opted into the final year of his contract. All I know is, like, it seems like the writing's on the wall that he kind of is done with LA now. And I guess maybe interesting that he opted into the deal, but I think he also understands that I'm LeBron James. I've already won this team a championship. They have Luka Doncic in hand now. Like, I'm fairly certain that if I say I want out of here as arguably the greatest player of all time, that they're just going to acquiesce to that because they don't want to do the damage of telling LeBron James no. So the damage that would cause, like in the player community, the agent community, everything to not acquiesce to LeBron's wishes and send him where he wants to go. I'm also not 100%. I don't know if he has an actual no trade clause or just
He
sort of
does.
a,
He does.
yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
So he has that as well too. So I mean, he then gets to pick where he goes, and I'm fairly certain that if he says to the Lakers, "I want to go to Team X," they're going to be like, "Okay, as long as they want you, then sure, we'll send you there." And obviously, there's it's complicated, but there are ties between Leon Rose and LeBron James. Leon was his agent initially for the first large part of his NBA career, leading all the way through his time in Miami, and everything else. And then eventually, Rich Paul, LeBron's longtime friend, starts his own sports agency, Clutch Sports, and becomes a power agent of his own. LeBron, of course, then says, "Sorry, Leon, but I'm going with my lifelong, one of my best friends in the world, to be my agent now." And then there was a little bit of friction between Clutch and CAA, dating back to Leon's time with CAA, which then spilled over allegedly into, the Knicks. And it sort of has explained why we haven't really seen any Clutch clients on the Knicks in the Leon Rose tenure. That said, there was like a very publicly reported on powwow between them. I think it was like last year around All-Star break, uh,
Mhm.
where apparently Rich Paul and Leon Rose sat down, hashed some things out, came to the conclusion of like Leon probably being like, "Yo, I don't work for CAA anymore. I work for the Knicks now. Like, let's stop having this, this agent beef carry over to my new career." And I guess Rich Paul being like, "Okay, maybe we can work on something in the future." Maybe they were already laying the foundation for something like this. I get the feeling if something does happen, it'll probably be pretty swift. But Gavin, I'm curious your thoughts on just the potential move. For me, I don't know. I go back and forth because it feels in some ways like, hey, this would have been nice 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But in other ways, like, still one of the best players on planet Earth, still one of the best passers. He's become a much better shooter with age, and that you're going to have to load manage LeBron to a certain degree, but I think he's kind of figured some things out the last couple of years in terms of staying healthy and stuff. Like, I don't know. There's no denying he's still really, really good at this juncture of his career.
Yeah, so I've a million thoughts on this. Probably not enough time to get them all out in this first segment, but does sound like he wants out. I think at the basis of that, there's a belief, obviously, that clearly implicit in this is that the Lakers are not good enough to win a championship. I think that's probably a correct belief, given that they won one playoff game. Obviously, Luka Doncic was not at 100%, and you get the best version of Luka Doncic. I think you walk into any individual series with a chance to win. I don't think they quite have the depth or the center play, and they just don't have a ton. They can deal like they're 2031 first. They can deal swaps in 26, 28, 30. All that is to say, there aren't a lot of avenues there for them to dramatically improve the team. Weird from LeBron's perspective. I know there's been a lot of discourse about this today, so I won't go too deep on this, but that he didn't just opt out and take like whatever matching money needed to be in a potential sign and trade, because him taking this complicates thing. Again, I'm not really one to count other people's money. I don't know if there's any position, regardless of how much money I have, where I've turned down $50 million. I know that's hard to do, but if his number one priority is truly winning a title, I do think it's a little weird that he took this, because if he took less, like that would make things a lot more feasible. The trade that comes to mind for me is like, if the Knicks were to do this, would be Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges. You can let me know if you're on the same page with this. There's no world where I'm moving Karl Anthony Towns, obviously not Jalen Brunson, but I would also put OG Anunoby in the untouchable category, given based on that quote, and also just based on everything we know about basketball longevity. Even LeBron's broken a lot of that. I don't think this is more than a 1 or 2 year thing. It is still totally plausible, even though LeBron is superhuman. Like, he could fall off substantially this year. This could be the year, instead of being like a clear-cut top 15 guy in the NBA, he's more like 18, 8, and 5, and he's like a quite valuable player, but he's not a superstar anymore, because we've just never seen anyone do this at this age. So I would be okay with the risk if it was some combination of Mikal and Josh Hart, just because I think, to your point, LeBron is still that good. I think he is especially good in a 7-game series setting where he knows he can go all out. He had the 38-point game against the Wolves. Like he can still top out at that for small stretches. Defensively, obviously not the same guy anymore. He's become a much better shooter in the latter stages of his career. I do think he could be like that swing piece that wins you a championship. I also totally understand, similar to your thoughts on Kevin Durant, if people don't want the drama, if people don't want the shortened window. I will say the one counterpoint I have to, like, all right, you're screwed if he retires, like that does leave you financial wiggle room that you didn't previously had to maybe add like a fourth piece or do a different trade down the road that makes you better versus just having Josh and Mikal on the team.
Yeah, I'll give a little cliffhanger. I actually have a different, if it was up to me, I have a different trade in mind
Sure.
that I would potentially do. So and it involves a different player than either of the two that you mentioned. So we'll talk about that in just a second when we get back in and get into some of the other kind of shocking-ish news that came out leading up to free agency here. So lots more to talk about. And then, of course, we'll talk about the Knicks' own free agents and what the latest scuttlebutt is on them as well when we get back in just a moment.
But first, we're going to tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Summer sports are in full swing. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or even high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. I've been all in on Aaron Judge getting out of his slump, going after that every single day. He hit 2 home runs yesterday, so that was really nice. It's incredibly easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like much-watch events. I've been at the edge of my seat being, Aaron, come on, knock one out, buddy. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet riding to the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it incredibly easy to feel like I'm part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, what's up, guys? We are back on Locked On Knicks. Alex, I won't keep people waiting. Tell everyone how they can trade Ariel Hukporti straight up for LeBron James.
Yeah, so what you have to do is sign every player on the team to a veteran minimum +1. And I'll explain how that all works in a couple minutes, just for anyone that's curious. But no, I actually think, even though I know you said you would probably not touch him at all in this deal, I would probably go with Cat. His salary is a perfect match to LeBron. I think ultimately some of the things that we saw rear their head this year with Cat, they get repaired with LeBron, right? Like, I think LeBron in his older age is becoming more comfortable with being a complementary player. So I don't think that he would mind not having the ball in his hands every single time down the floor. I think he would be more than happy to defer to Jalen Brunson as the lead ball handler. As we've seen, like, he was on a team where not only was he giving touches to Luka Doncic, but also like Austin Reeves was initiating the offense a lot for the Lakers. And LeBron has like become a better spot up shooter. He was like a 38% 3-point shooter last year on I think 5.5 attempts per game. He takes a lot of those just in spot up situations now where he just happens to get the ball on the perimeter. As you said, he still has that ability. Like, if you're okay with, if you get a new coach that's more willing to experiment with things, more willing to lose the odd, regular season game here and there to let some interesting combinations get some run, or give LeBron, let him only play 20 minutes one night or whatever. I think that is pretty appealing. And you a lot of the things that we sort of were like, hey, Cat had a great season this year, but like, he can get inside and generate opportunities, but he's not great at passing out of those or whatever. Like, there you go. Here's one of the literally best of all time at ever doing that, of getting inside and kicking out to open shooters and whatever. Hey, you didn't really have great, secondary ball handling behind Jalen Brunson, like either with Brunson on the court or when Brunson has to sit. Boom, now you have it. Like, LeBron can play your de facto point guard in sets, and especially if you let him do that against bench units a little bit, like, forget about it. Like, he's going to toast them. And more importantly, it just kind of allows you to give up less pieces, because the Knicks wiggle room, even if they would make a deal like this, they would still have, I think it's roughly $6-7 million exception that they can work with because they're under the first apron at the start of free agency here, I think, or under the second. I forget. I saw
under
the
the second. Yeah.
under the second, but still just barely over the first apron, I think. So they get like a taxpayer mid-level exception that they can use that's worth about 6-7 million. So you can improve a little bit through that, but for the most part, you're going to need to improve through veteran minimums. But I mean, if we've also seen anything throughout LeBron's career, it's that he is a high-level veteran minimum player magnet. Like,
welcome back, J.R. Smith. Let's
right.
go.
Like guys just want to play with him.
Yeah.
For the most part, it seems like, and maybe that's diminished a little bit over the last few years, but I get the feeling you'd probably get one or two names that you might not otherwise get if you have LeBron James on your team. Also, the salaries are so close that I think it's only a $500,000 difference. So you could very easily get around that by just signing and trading someone to make the salary work. I think that would have to be on the Lakers end, but they have some guys that are expiring salaries that they can use to make it work, or turn it into a multiplayer deal. And maybe you send out, the Knicks send out one of their younger players and take back like Connect or something from the Lakers to get someone who's a little more equipped to help them like win this year. Either way, that's how I would do it. Honestly, I don't know for sure if it's going to happen. But I don't know. I do think LeBron, who we know is one of the most legacy focused guys, I think, whether he wants to say it or not, like clearly his legacy means a lot to him. His standing in the all-time rankings means something to him. Passing Michael Jordan means something to him, like in everybody's minds, and having there be no shadow of a doubt left for anyone to say that he was not better than Jordan or whatever. I think that does matter to him, which is why he's extended his career this long, why he's still gunning for championships and considers that so important. I think if he comes to New York, he wins a championship, brings New York their first championship in 50 years, broke Cleveland's all-time title drought in his career, won one in LA, which is a legacy thing. Won his couple in Miami. Like, I think then he would probably feel pretty comfortable in saying, hey, more people than not are going to say I'm probably the greatest of all time that ever played basketball. So I could see it. Again, 15 years too late, a little annoying from that perspective. It's like, LeBron, you've had how many opportunities to potentially come to the Knicks and never done it? But, if it ultimately happens now, it's risky. It's risky for sure on the Knicks part if they end up doing it. But yeah, I think it's probably a pretty worthy risk, because this guy I'm past the point of ever assuming he's going to decline anymore, because I feel like we've been saying that for 7 years now and it just never happens. So, I mean, it's happened to us to some degree, but he's still a 24-8-8 player with efficiency that's bordering on the best of his career. It's like at a certain point, you just have to stop doubting him and just assume, hey, he's just going to play super elite until the day he retires.
Yeah, I didn't consider it initially just because I kind of think Cat is too good, and in some ways it's borderline disrespectful to him. But you're talking me into it a little bit. Like a starting lineup of Brunson, McHale, OG, feels weird and dumb to say this, LeBron, and Mitchell Robinson. Like, that feels like a very good defensive lineup. And I should note, as much as LeBron has declined on defense, and there's times where he's been a non-entity, there was about a month stretch before the Luka trade and a little bit after where the Lakers had the best defense in basketball, and LeBron, like, I'm not going to pretend I was watching every night, but just reading Lakers insiders and their comments, like, it seemed like he was playing like some of the best defense he's played in 5 years, which tells you like it's still in there. He can still ramp it up. He's smart enough. He's big enough. He's still fast enough to make a difference. Still occasionally gets those chase down blocks. That would be just a lot of size, a lot of insulation around Jalen Brunson. There would just be a comfort level there that there is not with Cat, that LeBron is just not going to do dumb stuff that Cat does. And that's not all an insult to Cat, and it's just an acknowledgement that you're trading for one of the like 3 to 5 smartest like basketball minds, at least of a player we've ever seen. So yeah, there's some credibility to it. If you get LeBron and you get someone that is like not at this point in his career in terms of like heliocentrism, having the ball, to your point, there's just him onto himself. You know what? Screw it. Bring Tom Thibodeau back. Let's just run it back, because I think that is similar to people who talked about the Knicks acquiring KD for Cat, like that is arguably a much better fit. But Alex, we got some reporting today that indicated that I would assume the Knicks are not going to go down the LeBron pathway after we spend 16 minutes talking about it, because apparently, according to Brian Windhorst, at least he hinted at this, but not with the two fingers up. So I don't know if this was a conspiracy or not. But there was a conversation on ESPN about where Giannis will potentially get traded. I'm trying to remember who the other analyst was. I think it was Bobby Marks, and he talked about. He said, "Hey, there's a reason the Spurs have kept all their ammo." And then Brian Windhorst chimes in. There's a reason the Knicks were on Kevin Durant's preferred list, and they said, thanks, but no thanks in regards to Giannis. I will continue to reiterate on my end. I just don't really see any avenue for how the Knicks will get this done and how they have enough to trade for Giannis. I think it would inevitably evolve a third team. I don't really see any reason why Milwaukee would want Karl-Anthony Towns straight up for him. Like, again, why not just keep Giannis if you're doing that? I don't see why they'd want like Mikal Bridges and the wings and some flotsam. Like, it doesn't really do a lot for a team that, again, doesn't have their first round picks, and probably would want a lot of youth. But apparently on some level, at least according to Brian Windhorst, Leon Rose still considers that a possibility.
I mean, I'll just say I'm willing to, like, that one, I don't know, weirdly feels less likely to happen than the LeBron thing to me. The LeBron thing just feels almost like, it almost feels like we've been building to it for 15 years in a weird way. If it did happen, I'd be like, I'd be like, oh, it's about damn time, I guess, if it did finally happen, because the teasing has just happened for so long. The Giannis thing, I'll just say, I think what would ultimately happen, it would be one of two things. Either the Knicks would send Cat to another team who would then route a bunch of stuff to Milwaukee, or you mentioned, like, to me, them not having their own picks means they would want to, as a smaller market team, still make the playoffs, or at least the play in, limit the sting of not having their own picks, and like still potentially compete to a degree. And then I guess, once Lillard gets back, like, try to do something.
Wait, but why not just keep Giannis then? I guess is my
right. It's just, and that all just depends on, is Giannis that malcontent that, again, like what I said with LeBron, like if he comes out strong and says, I don't want to be here anymore, like, do they really want to deal with the public relations nightmare that would be? Take the hit, like a small market team, especially. It's like, do you want to take that hit around the league of being the team that, like, didn't help Giannis out when he wanted to get out after he already won you a championship? Like, that's like the kind of the key indicator with both the LeBron and the Giannis thing to me, is like, these guys have won their city's championships. Like, I feel like that's the ultimate thing where, especially in today's NBA, you kind of get the right to then, slap something on the table and say, I want to leave, and you should acquiesce to me because I've done so much for your city and your team already. And, like, I don't think it's a good look if you don't. So yeah, that's kind of where I fall on that one, but it's interesting, I guess. I don't know. I think every team in the league, I think, like, the New York Post also had like a thing being like the Knicks and like two other teams are interested in Giannis too. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Every team should be interested in Giannis. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's going to happen. But you know what? I have an incredible amount of faith. I know some people's have been shaken, which I don't totally get. I have an incredible amount of faith in Leon Rose. If he believes it's possible, maybe he knows something we don't. It's very likely he knows something we don't. We're going to hit a bunch of stuff to finish this up. DeAndre Eaton, Ariel Hukporti, PJ Tucker, Landry Shamet, Kevin McCullough Jr. all coming up. We're a group of players that's never been listed next to each other before. It's all coming up next here on Locked On Knicks. All right, what's up, guys? We were back to wrap up this free agency mega primer. We should have probably given this caveat at the top, but I'll give it here. We waited. Alex was a trooper. We're recording, finishing this recording up around 1 a.m. East Coast time. We apologize if there's breaking news that makes this episode irrelevant before you watch it. By the time
4
you watch
a.m. or something, yeah,
dude, it could. I mean, it's happened before, but we especially Alex. I'm on the West Coast, not bad for me, but we did our best here. Real quick, because I know you wanted to hit it. DeAndre Eaton gets bought out by Portland and is now an unrestricted free agent. Somewhat shocking because I think still had like another year at 25, 26, 27 million. on his contract. So a little surprising. Portland is obviously with their drafting, with their acquisitions, they have literally a million centers on their team. Sorry, figuratively, a million centers on their team. They've made it very clear that DeAndre Eaton is not part of their future. They don't like DeAndre Eaton after the Phoenix Suns did kind of the same thing. I would be surprised if he was in the money range that the Knicks could pay. Why are you intrigued by this?
I just found it interesting. Like, and also, I mean, I understand that, this is not how players in their relative prime view things and probably shouldn't, but like, if he gets his money anyway and, becomes a free agent, like he's already getting paid presumably most of what he was owed for this next season. If that's the case, then is he willing to take a discount somewhere? Now, granted, if he came to the Knicks, like he'd probably have to be comfortable with backing up Mitchell Robinson, if I'm being completely honest, which might be a deal breaker right off rip there. Like he might just be like, no. But I did think that, I mean, I guess this kind of runs counter to it, but I thought that like, the fact that they're releasing him, but I thought that the general scuttlebutt about like his time in Portland was like that he had sort of turned things around a little bit, that it seemed like the work ethic was better. And I'd be lying if I said I watched a lot of Portland basketball to confirm or deny that. But
I will say real quick, he very famously missed a game because he was snowed in and like did not want to like work his way out of that, if I'm remembering correctly. And also, quick correction, he had $35.6 million left on his contract. So that is a crazy buyout. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a huge chunk of change. So yeah, whatever. I mean, the Knicks have like $6 million available. Maybe there's a world where he agrees to that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's honestly, I feel like it would almost be more likely that the Lakers try to make some sort of pitch to him to say, come to LA to then make it so LeBron doesn't want to leave here. And play with Luka, whatever. And that would also be kind of hilarious having those two on the same team after Ayton got taken ahead of Luka in that draft. But yeah, either way, yeah, interesting. I don't know. I just found it interesting. I thought it was worth bringing up just because it's like it's not too often
No.
you see a player in their relative prime get bought out of a $35 million contract before a season. So he might also be leaving a lot of money on the table. I don't know if the details have come out from that yet, but the cap nerd in me found it very interesting. But there's other. Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
Last quote on this, just from ESPN. He is now free to sign with any team, including those in both salary cap aprons, despite earning greater than $14.1 million. The waiver restriction that would normally prevent a player with Aiden's contract from signing with the team in the second apron obviously doesn't matter for the Knicks, but applies only during the regular season. He also wants to play in a winning situation, according to sources. So all interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting because that new rule does apply. Like if a player is making over that $14 million threshold, then around buyout season, they're not allowed to sign with like a contender that's already in the aprons or whatever. So interesting that he is able to sign wherever he wants to now. Probably doesn't mean anything for the Knicks, but I don't know. It just interested me. But let's talk about the Knicks free agents. So I'll just rapid fire a couple things real quick. Ariel Hukporti, the Knicks exercise his $1.9 million team option. That was from Ian Begley had that report along with I think Shams had that as well. But yeah, so that's cool that the Knicks are bringing him back on a full contract for $2 million. I think that makes perfect sense. I think that he showed enough last year prior to the injury that you could reasonably say I think that he could be an NBA rotation player this season, especially if you get a good new coach in there. He has a good offseason of getting things together after the meniscus surgery and everything. Hopefully he's good. Hopefully he and Mitch work out a lot together because there's obviously a lot of things about Hukporti's game that seem similar to Mitch's, except for he also has that incredibly feathery touch on that little floater and some inside shots and a little bit more of a post game. So, I like the fact that they picked him back up. Didn't think they would really decline him and be like, bye, because I think there was a reason they converted him to a full NBA contract with a second year option on it. PJ Tucker, the Knicks on the other side of things, decline the $3.4 million team option on him that they had, which makes a lot of sense. So I was talking to like some people for like in like our Strickland Discord about this, and the basic explanation of why they would do this, because you might think like, oh, a $3.4 million salary, that would be great filler if they're going to make a trade or something, right? But unfortunately, the rules in the NBA have changed, where now if you're an apron team, or I think just a luxury tax team, period, you're not allowed to aggregate minimum salaries together anymore in trades, which we learned last year when the Knicks were executing the cat trade. What you have to do now is be a sneaky little devil about it and sign players to a veteran minimum plus $1 contract. That is the Brock Aller special that he came up with last year that I think the Knicks were the first ones to do in the offseason last year in that cat trade. That was when you saw like Dwayne Washington and I forget who else it was, end up going to Charlotte temporarily to satisfy that deal where the Knicks were receiving more salary than they were sending out, which wasn't allowed by luxury tax rules. Both teams now, like it pretty much necessitates getting a third team involved like almost all the time if you have two luxury tax teams trading with each other now, unless you somehow have two players that make literally the exact same amount of money down to the penny. You have to get some other team involved. So that's where actually declining PJ becomes useful, because now you have PJ Tucker, you have DeLon Wright, you have Precious Achiuwa, you have Landry Shamet, and you have Campaign, who are all guys that run veteran minimum contracts last year that you get non-bird rights to, which allows you to, I think, pay them up to 120% of what they made the year prior. But all those guys now you have available, as long as they're down with it, to send out in a deal with a veteran minimum plus $1 salary in a sign and trade as part of a larger deal, that then you can satisfy the salary cap requirements if the Knicks do decide to make some sort of big trade this year. So for anyone that was curious about why they did that with PJ, that's the reason. But Gavin, there was also some intel about Landry Shamet a little bit and some of those other free agents as well.
Yeah. Ian Begley also reporting the Knicks have interest in bringing Shamet back, but noting in that contending teams in both conferences are expected interest in Shamet. Alex, teams are finally catching up to your genius on Landry Shamet and recognizing what a legend he was for the Knicks this year. 6 points per game, 40% from three in the regular season. Didn't really play in the first two rounds. Substantial minutes against the Pacers, though. 13 minutes per game, 6 points, 2 assists, 54% from three, 3.3 attempts per game. Unbelievably good defense for a guy whose defense I derided a lot during the regular season. I thought he was awesome. I would love to have him back, especially with a head coach, theoretically. If the Knicks get Taylor Jenkins, he will probably be playing Landry Shamet and Jalen Brunson about the same amount of minutes. I'm only half kidding about that. But there's certainly a world where there's a bigger role for him on the Knicks. Seemed like he loved his time in New York. I really hope, regardless of what else the Knicks do this offseason, they end up bringing Landry Shamet back. Other two pieces of news, Kevin McCullough Jr., the Knicks extended the qualifying offer to him. We haven't heard if he's taken that. Usually that is a formality, so I would assume he's going to be back. I really hope he's back. I am excited to watch him play. I legitimately think he could be useful as like a 9th or 10th guy for the Knicks this upcoming season. And then I just want to shout out Bojan Bogdanovic, who retires after seeing, I don't believe he ended up playing a minute this year, like coming back from multiple ankle surgeries. Tragically, it was Nico Batum, right, going for a loose ball against the Sixers, and that ended his career in the midst of what was a pretty awesome first round series. So that is a real bummer. Best wishes to him. Awesome career. Could have been part, I think, of with better health across the board, a legendary Knicks run that maybe would have resulted in a title 2 years ago. We'll never know. But you know what? LeBron's coming. He'll make it all right. Until next time, he is Alex Wolfe. I'm Gavin Schall. We'll talk to you very, very soon, and we'll have immediate updates if there's any kind of big signing or big trade throughout free agency on the New York Knicks on Locked On Knicks.